What's going on, guys? We are back with another podcast. We kind of fell off the wagon for a little while. You probably don't keep up with our podcast, but
I watch all your
we
podcasts.
do you?
Almost all of them.
Did you watch the one with Jack that we posted recently?
As long as my interview can go better than Jack's, I'm happy.
Did you hear when we started talking about the sperm and protein and all
I watched that entire episode.
that? It's so interesting to see like what conversations come out when you just sit down and start talking.
And it just came out of nowhere.
I know. I need to go watch the whole thing back because I don't know how that even started or where that came from. But
You guys started with CrossFit and then ended up on eating balls.
hey, whatever it takes to get your protein, I guess.
No, thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it either. It was, we're making the joke with Matt because him and his wife do CrossFit hardcore and are always trying to get their protein, but had sperm or balls had more protein than it does. Maybe something Matt would consider to get his daily dose, but
I hope you cleared your search history.
I know, right? It's like my wife's gonna take my phone, and of course she's gonna expect something worse, and then it comes up with that. She's like, "What in the world is wrong with my husband?" But how you doing, man?
Good. Busy.
Yeah.
Really
Did Arkansas get some snow?
They got a lot of snow,
Yeah.
actually. I think it's negative 12 or something tonight there.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
That sounds miserable.
It is. The year before we left, it got down to negative 20, I believe. The year before.
I don't think I've ever felt negative temperatures.
Anything under zero is really about the same.
Yeah.
It hurts to breathe. It hurts to anything. Like your skin feels different.
Right.
It
It would get like single digits every now and then in Nashville, but I don't think we ever had. We may have had negative wind chills, maybe, but
well, in
not
that
that I
year,
remember.
we lived in such a small area that we lost heat. The entire town lost because it was all natural gas, and
So what do?
you froze.
Freeze?
So what you do is you go into one bedroom. We still had electric, but everybody was on natural gas. So the
Did you
natural
have
gas
like electric
now.
heaters you could plug into the wall?
So that's what we did. We went into one bedroom, our master with the closet bathroom, and we basically just walled off the room and hung out for 2 days.
2 days.
It was in the 40s in the main house.
Golly.
Yeah, it was
That
crazy.
sounds rough.
It was
Like
brutal.
that would be. Would you rather do that or lose power and AC in the middle of the summer during a hurricane here?
I'm hot natured. I'd rather be in the cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's. I mean, I've said it multiple times. There's multiple pictures of me shoveling snow in Crocs and shorts.
Really.
Yeah.
So in my house, I would rather be cold than hot.
Yeah.
But like outside day-to-day stuff, I'd rather be hot than cold.
Yeah.
So I could probably deal with 40 degrees inside the house. I mean, that's cold. It wouldn't be fun, but we were without power during Hurricane Sally for, I think like 3 days, 2 or 3 days. And that's pretty rough. And you can deal with it. To me, with the hardest thing is the sleeping.
Yeah.
Trying to sleep
100%.
when you're like sweating and you can't have a blanket. Like I like to have a big comforter and stuff. And
Yep.
when it's 80 degrees, 90 degrees in your house, there's no comforters involved in that one. But
I was in South Florida in 2004 when we had 3 hurricanes hit. So we were without power for weeks at a time. I mean, it was like we'd get everything back on and then whoop, there's another one.
that's crazy.
It
Y'all weren't
was
here for
brutal.
Sally, right?
We weren't here for Sally, but we were supposed to come down for Sally because of the pier reopening. We had a vacation planned and everything. But no, we weren't here.
And ruined everything. But looks like they're finally gonna fix the pier. What is it? Sally was 2020, and we're now in 2024.
Yep.
And I don't even know if they've actually started working on it. I know they started picking up debris around it, but supposedly it was gonna be ready by the spring. But if they haven't even started doing anything, ain't no way it's gonna be ready by spring.
There's no way. There's no way at all. And the bad part about it is they're not letting them drop the pilings to like make structure either. They have to take it out completely, remove it, so they're not even adding any of the structure back.
Dang.
Well, because that would have been nice to be able to have some bait schools.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
snap
I
it a little
guess-
bit off and
I guess they have to do it so when they're setting new pilings, they like don't have to deal with.
well, even like
Not be able
100
to
yards
set 'em,
off or
but-
200 yards off the pier or something.
Yeah.
They're having to remove
'Cause,
them completely.
Over at Juneau, they have
Mhm.
something out there, don't they?
Yep.
And same thing as it. Maybe Okaloosa or Navarre.
No, I'm not sure.
One of them, I don't know if it's actual. I mean, I don't know if it's natural or something they put there, but I think they have some sort of structure that'll hold bait. But
Yep.
you said the one they did at Juneau actually kind of messed up the pier fishing though, right? Because a lot of the bait would stay off, and so you couldn't catch bait as good on the pier, so it almost
Yep.
made it worse.
Yep. And then obviously all the beach renourishment and things like that. It happens here. It happens down there.
Yeah.
That pier I grew up in South Florida, and when I would that pier was epic. It was deeper, snook year round, kingfish, cobia, everything. There's still snook, obviously, and there you can
Right.
still get a kingfish, but it's nothing like it used to be. The water used to be under the pier house, and now, I mean, you've been there.
I remember you
it's not
saying
even
that.
near it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's lost.
How old were you when you moved from South Florida?
So we went to college in Melbourne. So I went there in my 20s, and then me and Leanne, my wife, we moved back to Arkansas in, oh man, like 2008, something
Okay.
like that. So we were in Arkansas for almost 12 years,
Yeah.
which going to Arkansas was supposed to just be like a 2 or 3 year thing. We were going back. I got out of college, and it was hard to find jobs. It was a time when it was really hard to find jobs and things. We're going back basically just to get our footing
Right.
and then come back, and then he never
Yeah.
came back.
It's easy to do that. It's easy to move and get comfortable and get a job, and
Yeah.
and then it's hard to turn around and leave again. But
The only thing that I really missed about South Florida was the fishing. The fishing
Yeah.
and the food.
yeah,
Traffic, violent, the crime, and I don't miss any of that, but going out to be able to catch any type of fish you want, basically
Right.
any time of year.
I know
That's
it is nice. We've been talking about because fishing around here gets pretty terrible during the winter.
Yep.
We're actually going to South Florida. I'm leaving in the morning. And so I was talking with Courtney, my wife, the other day, and I was like, once we're ready to buy a house, I would rather keep renting here and buy a house in South Florida, and then we'll just rent it out,
Yep.
and then we'll go live there like December, January, February.
We've thought about that,
'Cause
buying
I
a
don't-
condo or something.
Well, because like you were saying with the crime and all that down there, I don't want to raise my family there. I'm about to have 5 kids. I don't want them to necessarily be raised in that environment because it's not as family friendly as up here. But I would love to live in South Florida for
Oh yeah,
3 or 4 months a year.
I mean, I grew up there. I grew up going to school, and it's a different world. And once you get used to it, when I left Florida and went to Arkansas, it was a culture shock.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, it was like, what am I doing? What are these people doing?
Especially
Like,
from South Florida.
yeah.
Like,
And I never
at least here,
yeah.
this area is still like pretty southern
Oh,
and
yeah.
kind of similar to Arkansas. South Florida can be like another world.
Oh yeah. I mean, it literally is. I mean, it's a different world.
Now there's a lot of different cultures and all that, but it's
Yeah.
crazy in South Florida.
But it was a culture shock. And then like when we go back, I'm good for a week, or maybe 10 days, and then after that, I got to get out of here.
Really?
I don't want to be here anymore. It's just the feeling of, I don't want to say being unsafe, but I feel safe here. I feel
Right.
safe in Arkansas. I never really thought like, oh man, I maybe shouldn't go down that neighborhood.
Yeah.
But growing up in South Florida, there's a lot of neighborhoods you don't go down, and I forget about it. And then we go back, and I'm like, oh man, I don't. Maybe
Yeah.
we shouldn't be out here. It's 9 o'clock at night.
I know you're like, I kind of want to move back, but I kind of don't.
But like you said, I'd love to have a place down there and rent it out during the
Yeah.
winter, and then go down when I want to.
Yeah, that'd be awesome because
Yeah.
like being anywhere because you grew up in West Palm.
West Palm.
And so that kind of area, like you'd be so close to hopping down to the Keys if you wanted. You could hop over to the West Coast if you wanted. You're so close to so many good fishing areas. Whereas here, like we're gonna go down to Naples tomorrow and like fish the Everglades and
Mhm.
stuff. It's like 9, almost 10-hour drive.
Yep.
But from down there, I mean, you can hop over anywhere within a few hours.
And you take it for granted. We used to do all that. I mean, I grew up catching those big 40-inch snook and
Yeah,
doing the mullet run and going to we went to the Keys every couple months. I mean, it was just something, and then all of a sudden you're
I
not
mean, you can
doing
do like Victor Land Shark. They do day trips over there. You just
Yeah.
run over there, go fish the bridges, and drive home that evening.
it. Yep, we go for a weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, just go sleep on the piers. Just
That'd be
I miss it
awesome.
being young.
I'm ready to go back to the Keys. I love that place. We went last December. I went with my whole family. That was our first time ever going to the Keys, and we loved it. And I've been back twice since. I'm ready to go back again. We were gonna try to do it again this December, But then I bought a boat and then had truck problems and had to buy a truck. And then we ended up moving. I'm like,
Well,
I don't know if I can fork out another vacation right now, but
we went down in September, maybe. I'm not 100%. It was before my wife went back to Oregon for nursing. And when we got there, we were under a gale force wind warning. I mean, it was rocking, and the Keys don't get real big waves because it's so. But it was a little dicey out
Really?
there. Yeah, it was bad.
And Sean went there not long after you did, and it was the same. He had bad weather when he was there too. He said he couldn't even kayak fish like 2 of the days, and
Yeah.
finally got an opportunity. Elias V, he goes down there every year in December, I think, and he texted me last week or 2 weeks ago, and he's going back in February. And was asked about going again, and just so many more opportunities down there, and you got the 2 different sides. So most of the time, of course, if it's real bad, real windy, like you're screwed either way. But
Yeah.
a lot of times, if it's bad on the Gulf or whatever, they call it the Bay down there,
side.
the Bay side or the Atlantic side. You can bounce around and find the better conditions. But
Not when we were there.
I'm just ready to get out of here, and because it's supposed to be like 18, 19 degrees tomorrow, and
They're even calling
So we're
for
gonna-
certain places might get freezing rain, which, I'm used to that now. But I almost want to go driving it just to see everybody freak out.
I know. And I got a sister-in-law that lives in Michigan, and when we were in Nashville, they would always make fun of us for the bad drivers and closing schools and all this stuff. But
Schools are closed Wednesday, aren't
I
they?
know. I don't know if they're
Yeah.
closed Wednesday. I know they're closed tomorrow. I
Tomorrow.
think they might be closed Wednesday too. But
Yeah.
the biggest thing, of course, it's not going to be like a bunch of snow in here. But in Nashville, when we would get, even when they would just talk about snow, they would close schools. But Nashville, especially not here, but Nashville is just not prepared to have that much snow and that much ice. I mean, they do have the salt trucks and stuff, but if you got to send all these school buses out to pick up kids, especially in the rural communities, and it's all hills and windy roads, and I mean, you can't risk having
no.
a school bus wreck with a bunch of kids in it. And they already built in the days off of school anyways, so if it's going to be even close, they just go ahead and close it there. And I think they've closed. I think Nashville's closed the next 3 days already.
Where we lived in Arkansas, it was just a smaller town outside of a big town, and so we had 2 ways in and out, and that was it. And they were next to valleys, and they were straight up hills, and I mean, it was, if you went off the road, you were not coming back. It was bad. So that's where I learned how to drive in the snow.
Yeah.
Which I thought I could drive in the snow, and it takes a little while to get used to, for sure.
The biggest thing in Nashville too is you would end up being mostly ice.
Yeah.
Because if we got snow, it was usually warm the day before, and so it'd start raining, and then it would get cold really quick, and all that would freeze, and then you get some snow on top of the ice.
Yep.
And so the biggest thing there was just it was a lot of ice more than it was actual snow, and nobody can drive on ice. I mean, it just is what it is.
Even with four-wheel drive doesn't help you. It just helps you get out. It helps you get out the
Just gonna
ditch.
be spinning around and slipping and sliding. And
Yep.
a girl that I went to high school with, I'm still friends with her parents on Facebook, and they live kind of up on top of a hill, and they're back in Nashville. And he posted some pictures this morning of all the cars just all over the side of his front yard from people trying to go to work this morning and just sliding all over the place.
I think I saw something that Montana was like -43 yesterday, or like the day before.
Like real temperature?
Yeah, like actual temperature -43 degrees or something. The 30, it was in the 30s or 40s. And I was asking Leanne, like, how do things survive? Like, if you're a deer,
Yeah.
how do you survive?
Like, that's gotta just like lock you down.
Well, how do you breathe? How does it not freeze your lungs? How does it not, like, how do you survive -40 degrees as an animal?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it kills a lot of animals,
Oh, yeah.
especially smaller animals, dogs,
Yeah.
cats, any of those that are left outside. I'm sure those do die.
I mean, we would die in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Even with a jacket. I mean, it was, I don't know. It's
I wouldn't
amazing.
even want to walk outside in that
Heck
temperature. I remember, like, even in Nashville when it was like freezing and like taking a shower and then go to work, my beard would freeze.
Yep.
If you walked out there, like,
Oh,
it
yeah.
wouldn't have to be wet. It would just like freeze from the oil.
Yep.
It'd be insane.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. There's no way.
Yeah, not for me either. Like I would rather just go further south and
Yep.
avoid winter at all. I do like a snow though. Like
Yeah.
if it's gonna be cold,
Yeah.
I'm fine with the snow. I don't want to deal with it for 3, 4, 5 months like
Yeah.
some places, but like with my mom, I FaceTimed my mom this morning and was showing the kids the snow, and like it would be fun to still be up there and take the kids sledding and do that whole thing because that's what we got to do growing up. And my oldest Kelton, he's the only one that's seen snow, but he was like 1. He don't remember.
When
My
I
other
had
kids have never even seen it.
when I actually had a real job, not that this isn't a real job, when I had to go somewhere at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, I hated snow
Yeah,
because now I got to get up, warm the truck, make sure the
Right.
roads are good. But even when we were in Arkansas the last year, I was working from home and I loved let it snow. It's beautiful. Like
Right,
it's
it
actually
is.
really nice, especially around the holidays, like around like here it was like in the 70s this year around
Right.
Christmas. It just doesn't
and
feel
that
like
is weird.
yeah.
But Nashville would be that same way too. Some Christmases it would be 20 degrees. Some Christmases it would be 70, and
Yeah.
you just never know. But
Yeah.
it is nice when you get all that around the holidays. We went up. My sister-in-law in Michigan. Me and Courtney went there for Thanksgiving. It's been like 7 years ago now, probably. Courtney was pregnant with Kelton, and we went to a Michigan and I think no, not Iowa. I think maybe Indiana football game at the big house up there, and it started snowing like crazy during the football game. Like that was a cool experience to just snow everywhere. The players like doing snow angels or whatever on the field, and so it is cool to be around all that. But of course,
It's nice to
never gonna
drive
get that
home
here.
right after too.
right,
Come back to the beach.
yeah, for sure.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't guess you mentioned having a real job. I don't think I actually introduced you, but James is Frisky Fins and makes pompano rigs and jigs and
Apparently
custom rods.
Apparently
and
does rod
rod
repairs.
rod repair for Ninja Tackle. Matt Pull, if you're watching this,
Appreciate
he
you.
really appreciates the whatever I'm trying to say.
Promotional.
Yeah, sending all the rod repairs to James. But what got you into making pompano rigs in Arkansas where there's no pompano?
So growing up in South Florida, I fished my entire life. Saltwater, pompano, snook, doing all that. We would come down on vacation once the new pier got opened, and we kingfished all the time. Didn't do any type of surf fishing here. Didn't even know there was really pompano here, which is stupid because, of course, there's pompano.
Right.
There's pompano everywhere. And the wife really didn't get into the pier fishing thing. Too crowded, too many people. She was just reading a book, and I kind of wanted to do a little more. And we started surf fishing, started pompano fishing, went into tackle shops. And at that time, it was just that one guy from the east coast of Florida. What was his name?
Caleb Couture.
Caleb Couture. Couture's rigs were in
Mhm.
J&M, which
Yeah.
was the main tackle shop.
I remember when
went
that
to.
happened because it used to just be like Sea Striker or whatever
Mhm.
big brands, and maybe some tackle stores might make their own, but most of it was mostly you just would go in and buy some floats and make your own rigs. There wasn't too many options.
So there was him at the beginning, and then the last year that we came down before I did it, there was Salty was starting to really
Mhm.
get big, and in my head I went, why can't I do that?
Right.
I mean, it doesn't seem that hard, and so we started doing a few of them, making our way down, and we actually started. Our first sale was during COVID, right as COVID hit. Like
Yeah.
we were here that week. And we had all of our sales. We were driving back, and I started getting phone calls from the shops that were like, "Hey, we don't need your rigs. The beaches are shut down. There's no one gonna be
Right.
fishing." So that's how we started. Started from just
Perfect
a couple
way to enter.
Yeah. I mean,
Beaches
it
are
was-
closed. Nobody's pompano fishing.
Well, yeah.
The stupid thing about that, I think you were here. I remember because I fished the pier with you during that.
Yeah.
So they closed the beaches here in Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, but they left the pier open. So instead of going and being spread out on the beach, everybody was shoulder to shoulder on the pier. And that was really the only times, that was the first time, and I've done it a few times, but not much, but mainly the only times I've ever thrown pompano jigs
Yep.
for pompano because everybody's standing out on the pier, and it was easier to do that versus throwing out set rigs. So
That's my favorite way to catch them.
Yeah.
It's pompano fishing with rigs. Obviously, by my rigs, I make good rigs, but it's kind of boring to me.
right.
I've caught thousands of pompano. I've been doing it my whole life.
Right.
It's
definitely a thing for like if you're going to hang out with your family or you're down on
Exactly.
vacation and you're just going to hang on the beach. You can just throw it out. It don't really take a lot of work.
Well, or if you want to go catch like if I need to catch, my neighbors eat very well during pompano season, and if I want to go catch a limit of pompano, I just take rigs and go sit out and fish. But I love catching them on jigs.
Yeah.
It's just the bite is aggressive. You don't think of pompano as aggressive until you've hooked one on a jig.
Right.
They're in the jack
fun.
family,
especially when you can sight fish them.
Yeah, I love it.
And a lot of times you'll get the bigger ones that way too.
Yep.
Like Matt's PB. I don't remember what the weight on that one. It was like 4 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was over 4.
And that was on one of your jigs.
Yep.
I think it was on the beach, but next to the jetties, and
yeah,
pretty cool.
Yeah,
I need to do more of it. I've kind of given up on pompano fishing, and I really haven't even been surf fishing a lot. Like we went out this October and stuff when the Reds are running, the Jacks get down there in Fort Morgan, but I didn't do nearly as much surf fishing this year as I have in the past.
I pretty much put up the surf rods in October.
Yeah.
It's for me to take time off to go fishing. This is my, we're not there. The pompano aren't here, but this is my time to build inventory.
Right.
And so I'm working just as much, if not more now than I am during the spring. So for me to go fishing, there's got to be a bite.
Right.
There's got to be. I'm not just going to go
Can't
to
just
the
go
beach.
away. I mean, it's the same thing for us. Like, I'm not going to go to the beach right now and try to fish when it's freezing cold and it's a small chance of catching fish. Like, it's you want to go when you can catch fish, and us trying to get videos. Like, you gotta find the best opportunities, and that's why we're going to South Florida. Fishing has just been so tough, and like I can go down there for 3 days and hopefully get 3-4 videos. Whereas here, it might take me 3 or 4 days to get one video.
The fish are here. I mean, you just got to put in the time and the work. And I just don't have 6 hours to go sit on the beach to catch 3 pompano. Right. I mean, I really don't.
Me either.
It'd be fun. I mean, it'd be nice to get out, but and then sheepshead,
which it's been nice the past 2 days, but usually go sit on the beach for 6 hours and it's 40 degrees with a 20-mile-an-hour north wind, and that's not fun.
Yeah. And the sheepshead haven't really shown up this year.
That's been a weird bite. We had a good day of sheepshead fishing maybe a month or so ago.
Yep.
But it's been weird.
Yeah. It was about this time. It was February when they really showed up good in our area last year. But it was one of the, like, they just weren't here, and then one day we just killed them.
And it's cool, and that's when I like fishing them. Is like it usually ends up like late February, March, sometimes even early April, and they'll be like a week, maybe 2 weeks, and they will be so freaking thick on the jetties. And now that I got a boat, I'm just gonna go whack them from the boat. But it is fun going out on the jetties and just, I mean, it's almost every cast. Like
I'm too big for the jetties, man. I fall hard.
I land hard. It can be dangerous, man.
Yeah.
We were talking about this in our last podcast about, I don't remember what other jetty we were talking about, but if the jetties were flat, like it'd be cool. It'd
like
be
over
easier
in
to
Texas.
get out there, yeah. But the problem would be there would be so many more people. If it was easy to get there, it would be packed all the time. So. And
I fished the jetties 3 or 4 times. I mean, you can get out there. It's just by the time I get out there, I'm tired, my legs hurt, and I'm only taking 1 or 2 raw. I'm just trying to. So I always forget something.
Yeah,
I always forget or didn't bring the live well. First time I went, I forgot to bring my bait.
It's hard to take a live well out there. If you want to keep fish, it's hard to keep fish out there because basically you would have to have a backpack cooler, or you're just like carrying all kinds of crap. So me and Brant did it. I don't even know if I went there last year. I think it was 2 years ago when we really caught them good. It might have been last year. I can't remember. But it was literally like there was a boat, at least one boat hooked up at all times. And most of the time it was 2 or 3. So it'll be fun to get out there on the boat and just whack them.
Yeah, they're out there. I mean, it's just got to get out there.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm not willing to go to the hospital to catch a sheepshead.
I know I've fallen a couple times on the jetties. Nothing ever too crazy.
Yeah. I
was out there. This has probably been 2 or 3 years ago. And you know John. Is it Atkinson?
Yeah.
And so he used to fish the jetties a lot then. And he may still, but we were out there and it was kind of rough out. And we were fishing. There had been a lot of jacks around and so I think I had a jack on, and he like takes me inside the pass, and John like doesn't give a shit. And he's like, I'm like, I'd rather lose the fish than
Yeah.
die. And John's like, I'm getting your fish. And so he's like crawling down on the rocks. And it's like right by the water. Big wave comes up, completely lose him. Like he's gone. And then he just stands up and like, dude, don't worry about my fish. I don't want to have to call Coast Guard to come rescue you. Because I mean, if you end up in the water, trying to get back on the rocks is going to be like impossible.
Oh yeah.
They're going to be slick. You're going to be banging into them. I'm like, you were crazy, dude.
And 10 years
That's
ago,
not for
maybe.
me.
You know, but I'm feeling my age now.
Yeah, me
It
too.
is-
How old are you? You're a little bit older than me, I think.
38.
38? Oh, you're a lot older than me. Well, not a
Yeah.
lot. I'm
Thanks,
31.
man.
I'm about to be 32.
Yeah. Oh, there's a big difference between 32 and 38.
It's interesting how, like,
Man.
ages and your thought process, I guess, about different ages. Because, you know, when you're like 21, you're like, you're 30? You're so old.
Yeah.
And now, like, I am starting to feel older, like certain things hurt and whatever, but like I still look at 32, like I still feel like I'm a young kid.
Oh yeah. I mean, at 32, you
But
are
10
a
years
young
ago,
kid.
I just thought I was like 30 would be old as dirt, but
My thing is that for my majority of my life, I was in really good shape. I played a lot of sports, worked out. I mean, it worked out a lot and was in very good shape. So I could do anything. Like I could
Yeah.
just pick stuff up and not even think about it. Now I'm at that age now to where I reach down to pick something and I go, hold on. I got 100-pound brick of lead in the garage and I was moving stuff to get just to get around it. And I went to kick it and I went, 3 years ago, I would just push that thing out of the way.
right.
No. We got a dolly.
Yeah. Wheel that thing out
Oh
of there.
yeah.
And I used to make fun of my dad, like if he was like sitting on the floor, you had to like help him up. And
Yep.
now I'm on the floor playing with my kids. I'm like, all right, time to get up.
Oh yeah. Those long road trips to South Florida,
Oh, that's brutal.
before
Especially for us like bigger guys.
Yeah.
When you're in a car and your knees are just bent so much. And
I hate it, but it just I had that hip surgery a
that's what I
couple
was gonna
years
say. You end
ago,
up having some hip problems. Or
and that
something.
was basically my wife always gives me crap about it, but basically my bones are too big. So my bones are so big that they rubbed all of the cartilage away, and they basically pushed on tendons and tore tendons and things like that to where when I was real big and strong, I didn't notice it because everything was so like put together. And now that I've gained 40 pounds and don't work,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh man, I can feel like the other one's gonna have surgery.
So like before, like growing up, you didn't know that you had
Never.
or could potentially have some issue. You just started having pain and
Yeah, so I tore a tendon, the main tendon in my right hip that basically holds everything together. And then over time, it just kept tearing and tearing. So it tore completely in half. And then I started like dislocate my hip, and the hip started coming out of joint. And by that point, I was ready. And then COVID hit. So by the time I was like, all right, I can't take this pain anymore. I'm
Yeah.
like crying myself to sleep. I'm in so much pain.
that
And I was
sounds
like, oh,
miserable.
by the way, that's an elective surgery. So got to wait 6 more
Couldn't
weeks.
even do it. Jeez.
Which even that was weird because I was the only person in the hospital because you can't, they don't want to have any any interaction with people,
Right.
and so there's just me in this big old hallway by myself.
yourself.
Yeah, literally, it was weird.
And could your wife even come in there?
She was the only person I was allowed to, and it was basically because she had to test negative for everything just like I did, and
Right.
yeah, she was allowed to. But that was a horrible 6 months.
That sounds terrible.
Because it's
And
not
those-
like a regular hip surgery where like you're up and walking. I wasn't allowed to get out of bed for 3 weeks. Like they had to basically repair everything. Yeah.
That sounds brutal. And is that is there like a timeline on how long that did you get a whole new hip?
No. So
Or
they reshaped the bones inside of my
okay.
hip.
So you don't have like a metal hip or whatever they would
I was too young.
you don't have to get another hip.
I will have to have hip replacement surgery within the next 15 to 20 years.
Because Courtney's sister, my sister-in-law in Michigan, she's had some hip problems, and
Yeah.
it was stuff from like when she was a little girl, and so she's already had. I can't remember if she's had just one or she's had two, but she would have to get a new hip like every so often.
Yeah. So that's basically what they told me was I was too young to get a fake hip, And it was either they could go in and repair the tendon and I could just live with the pain, but I would get unbearable arthritis in my hip because of the bone on,
Yeah.
bone on bone.
Doesn't
Or
sound
I could
fun.
have the surgery, and they were like, it's like a 65%. And I was like, oh, man, I'll take the chances.
Yeah.
So it's not perfect by any means. It still hurts a lot, but it's not as bad as it used to be.
And so when you do the other one, can they just give you 2 new hips at the same time?
I
Or
hope
do you have
so.
to have 2 different surgeries?
I have no idea how that. My thing is in the next 20
It's
years.
like if you gotta get the left
Yeah.
one done because of the same problem, you're like, just go ahead and give me 2 fake ones while you're in there.
Well, I'm hoping in like the next, like how you said, she's gonna have to get another one here. I'm hoping in the next 20 years to where it's the technology is, hey, this
Yeah,
is it.
like
It'll
one
be
and done.
titanium, and
Right.
maybe we don't have to because I don't want to have surgery like 70 years old
I know that.
and then have to learn how to rewalk at 7.
Right.
Like that's one of my biggest fears is getting old and then having health problems.
Right. I know that would be rough. My grandma, she's had a lot of knee problems, and her sister had knee replacements and like had all kinds of problems. So she was like scared to death of
Yeah.
having knee replacements. And then like they were hurting so bad, my dad and his brothers and sisters finally convinced her, and she was like prepared to get knee replacements. And then same thing, COVID
Yeah.
hit, and they said that they had to put it off. And now she's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not doing it.
Well, and you got 5 kids to help you through life. Me and Leanne don't have kids.
Yeah,
So it'll be Leanne with her 70-year-old self trying to help me walk to the bathroom.
right.
It ain't gonna work, man.
You need to adopt you a kid or something, or take one of mine.
I can't raise a dog, let alone a kid.
Right. I know that. I guess that's the bright side of having so many. Is like surely one of the
One of them will be
5
all right.
is gonna really love us and
Yeah.
take care of us. And man, I got 2 brothers and a sister, and we always joke that like whenever my parents need all this help, we're like, yeah, she'll just move in with y'all.
Yeah.
You don't have to rely on us boys. Let the girl handle it.
I'll take care of my mom for sure.
Yeah.
Like my mom can do no wrong in my eyes, even if she's wrong. But I'm not a caregiver though. Like I'm not 100% what I would do.
Right.
Like I don't
Yeah.
know how to handle
Yeah.
older people. Like that's not what I'm.
Can squirt some morphine in your mouth while you're dying or something. but-
I'm not a gentle like that's not my thing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I might be able to, but I don't want to. And I'm sure that, like, this is all gross stuff, but I'm sure your mind changes when you're actually in the situation. But, like, I don't want to be giving my mom or dad baths and
Yeah.
taking them to the bathroom. And,
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I said the same thing before I had kids. I'm like, I don't want to change dirty diapers. And
Yeah.
now it's just like, it just is what it is.
Well, when I had that hip surgery, so Leanne's a nurse and she deals with people. She's in the ICU, so she deals with people who are in bad shape all the time. And
I think somebody's about to take a picture of us.
hey, I'm famous. Let's
We got some.
hold on.
We got some fans out there that are. Oh, her phone's messing up. Oh, she's got her phone case on upside down. We got some people outside trying to take pictures of us doing a podcast. That's awesome. But when we first got here, James was like, you're welcome. James was like, you need the window to where they can't see in. I'm like, that would actually be nice, but
Well,
that's why we're here. And a lot of people will go like, do you feel like you're in a fishbowl? People just watching you. Like, I never really thought about that, but
I could see that.
yeah.
But with my hip surgery, Leanne had to help me go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't physically move. For me, I couldn't move my leg, let alone get out of bed, get in the shower. Like she had to shower me.
Right.
She had to help, and I'm a big guy, and so I don't know how people have that surgery and don't have somebody at home.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm scared of when I get older, to where like now I got to rely on.
You'd have to do something like
Yeah.
even like if you didn't have family, you'd have to hire a caregiver or something to like.
That's a 24-hour
just
job at
have
that
to.
though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to learn how to re-walk. So it took me about 3 months to where I could walk without crutches or a walker. I mean, it physically
Was it
couldn't
like
walk.
was it like you could not tell your legs to move, or there was just so much pain?
Yeah,
Like, did you feel helpless? Like I'm trying to walk and nothing's happening.
both. So it
'Cause
was
that
both.
would be like it's one thing to be like, my leg hurts so bad I can't do it, but it would be like another thing which I've never experienced of like, I want to walk,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to tell myself to walk, and my legs aren't moving.
It was both. The first 2 weeks or so, I really don't remember because of how drugged up they kept me. And it was so basically they had to rebuild an entire tendon, and they like fold. I mean, I have pictures of it where like they actually went in and like folded it and tied it and glued it. I mean, all this stuff.
Little duct tape.
Yeah, I mean, whatever they did, it didn't work real good. But so I couldn't move to re-tear that. So it's just like having stitches on the out. You know, you can't bend but it was. I couldn't feel my leg basically, and then it was you can't put any pressure on it. You can't. I mean, I had to walk with crutches or a walker for.
Were you in like a giant cast, or they were just like, "Don't move"?
No, it was "Don't move." Yeah, they basically put like a big Band-Aid on me, and which if you've never felt horrible pain, you get a big old Band-Aid put right here, and someone rip it off of you once a week to shower you.
Yeah, like please shave my leg before you put that Band-Aid
on.
No,
it would rip the skin off. I mean, because you can't get anything in there because it'll get infected. Yeah, it was.
That sounds brutal, man.
And then going to physical therapy, because I've always been a big, strong, you know, and then and there were these like 75, 80, 90-year-old little old ladies, and they're lifting more weights than I am, and I'm.
It's a little like humbling experience.
Oh yeah. Like the guys are just lift your leg.
I can't do it. I know. I remember when I was like 16 or something, I broke my hand. I had some anger issues when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I punched a chair, and it knocked my knuckle out, and my knuckle was like on top of my hand. And so they had to come in, put my knuckle back, and they ran pins like to connect them. And then so when I got the pins out, I had to go to therapy with my hands. It's like just trying to like move your hand. It's so weird, like how stiff things get after.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how long I had the pins in, like I don't know, 4 or 6 weeks or something. But even just trying to like move your hand, you're like, what in the world?
And that was my first real big injury. I had a torn hamstring in college and torn shoulder muscle, you know, but things that I could just wear a sling and still go to practice and still I just couldn't move my arm. But I could still, but I couldn't even put my pants on. I mean, for 3 months, Leanne had to put shorts on me, and it was I couldn't get in a truck. Well, you know, like because we have the big truck, and so we couldn't even. We had to like borrow a car to get me home from the hospital because I couldn't get into my vehicle. And then I vomited on the way. That was awesome.
Nice.
I felt horrible. They're trying to get you to throw up before you leave because of everything that's inside, and I just couldn't do it. So we get in the car. I'm like, yeah, I feel fine. We pull out. We're maybe quarter mile from the hospital. I'm like, gotta pull over.
It's happening.
Vomited.
And you can't jump out of the car.
Because it was
I can't even move, but I need to throw up.
I vomited on the car. I mean, because I couldn't roll over.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
It was horrible.
Dang.
But it's over, and it's we're moving forward. Yeah, for now. But it could have been resolved earlier, but I'm stubborn and. It probably didn't have to get as bad as it did. I probably should have had surgery like 3 years before, but it is what it is.
Us men like to put things off until
there's
no other option.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to ask you about, we don't plan out any of our podcasts really. We just talk and see where it goes. But there's probably some other people on here that may agree with you or may have had some similar experiences that you have had. One of which I don't even believe, but your mom's house when you grew up was haunted. So you say.
Very.
And I've watched scary movies as a kid and stuff, and I don't like scary movies. I'm not a fan of it. I don't want to be scared for no reason.
I can't watch them.
But I've never had any sort of experience that would make me think ghosts are real or there's other spirits or any of that stuff. Like I personally don't believe it. I'm sure some of y'all are listening have maybe had some experiences. So if you're on YouTube, comment down below, but tell the people, like, what you've told me about your mom's house is crazy, but like, it's kind of so crazy that I'm like, there's no way.
Well,
but I don't know what other explanation there could be other than like, other than it's real, or you did a lot of drugs when you were younger. One of the two.
Well, no drugs. No, I didn't even take my first drink till I was 21. So I mean, there's nothing like that. Man, what story do I tell? So
So what's the first one? Because we haven't had like deep conversations about this,
Yeah.
but the first time that I guess you found out that your mom's house was haunted, or what was the first experience where something weird happened?
I mean, when I was younger, so I know you don't believe in it, but there's a thing called a poltergeist. And basically, what that poltergeist, the way that works is the more, and this is the way that I think that it works, and the way that I've interpreted it, is the more scared you get, the more it affects you. So, like, if you're somebody who doesn't believe
And so
it,
that sounds a lot like anxiety, though, because like I do get some anxiety. My
Yeah.
brother has like bad anxiety, and so he'll like have a little pain or something. He's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm having a heart attack," and he like his anxiety convinces himself that he's like dying.
yeah.
And so you're like,
so it
it's
wasn't anything
something
like
that's
that.
not even happening, though.
No, it was definitely happening. So, and it doesn't happen a lot with kids when they're younger because kids don't get scared. You know, they see that they see something, but they
don't
can't
know.
comprehend it.
Yeah, you don't know what
Yeah.
it could be.
You know, like
You're just
if,
like, oh, the
yeah,
door open.
if your little boy was just walking and his door just opened, he just, he wouldn't. But
Yeah,
all of a
but
sudden, if
it's
you're
weird.
sitting in bed and your door just opens,
Yeah,
you're like, whoa,
why did that open?
Yeah. So the older I got, the worse it got. I would say probably the worst where somebody else saw it, and I'll get goosebumps telling these stories because it's
you
true.
have them
Yeah,
right now.
it's real to me. My wife, who, and I would never tell people that it would happen because if you come into my house, I'm like, hey, there's a ghost here. Anytime you're gonna be like, looking
Right.
around. I was at work. She came down. She lived with me for a couple months, and she calls me one day at work, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? She's like, hey, are you in the house? I'm like, no. What are you talking about? I'm at work. She's like, don't mess with me, James. Like, what are you here? And I was like, no, I'm not here. Why? What's going on? You're seriously not here. And I'm like, what is going on? Because we don't live in the best neighborhood either. And I'm like, is there somebody in
the
the
gun.
house? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? And so she tells me that when she was in the bedroom, she started getting laundry together, came out, and the way our house is you walk down a hallway, make a left, walk through our kitchen, and then the laundry room's in the back. It's an old Florida style home. So when she walks in, everything's normal. She goes in, does some laundry, comes out, every cabinet door, the oven's open, the stove, or the oven's open, every cabinet and the refrigerator doors are all open. All wide open. Not just like a crack, not like, oh, maybe, wide open. So she doesn't think anything of it. Again, maybe they were already kind of open, doesn't want to get scared.
Right.
Closes everything. Comes back to get the laundry. Same thing. Goes in, gets the laundry, comes out. All the doors are open again. She went to work with me every day the next 2 weeks.
I would too.
Yeah. We another one to where it was actually like a weird story. So if we back up, I was born in my house and I was basically born dead. I was too big, cord wrapped around my neck, housewife, it's not like the normal birthing,
Right.
the good way to do it. And I came back to life, and it was just like a weird experience for everybody who was there. Obviously, like, the kid's dead, and but so there's always just been like a weird feeling in the house in general. So we're in the house, me and Leanne, and we're sleeping in a blow up mattress because my mom, we moved out, and so we're sleeping in a blow up mattress, and I get woken up with my leg in the air being pulled off the bed. Physically, and again, I'm a 200 and at that time probably 30-pound man being pulled, not rolling off, physically leg in the air being pulled towards the base of the bed.
I don't remember the scary movie because I don't watch a lot of them, but I do remember watching one where that same thing's happening. Yep. The girl's just getting pulled out of her bed, and like.
So then, so I get up because I'm, obviously freaked out. So I get up, walk into the bathroom, turn the light on, close the door. Within seconds, there's a knock on the door. And like, my first thing is, whoa, like, what is going on? Like, why is someone knocking at the door?
Yeah.
Well, it's Leanne. She was asleep when I got up, and she says, she's like, let me in. I was like, okay. So I opened the door, and she's like, something just pulled me out of the bed. So she got pulled out of the bed. Two people within seconds basically got pulled out of the bed. There was a lot of like weird.
That's so crazy. Man.
I would leave for work, come back, and all the curtains would be open. Where again, I know I closed the curtains.
Yeah.
I would go to work, come home, and the front door would be wide open. I locked the door when I left. Or I'd be sleeping in bed in my room, and so and all of a sudden you just hear the front door open. Just why there'd be nobody in the house. Like, you're just me. Like, my mom wasn't home. Nobody was in and the front door just be wide open. All the time.
It's crazy. And so did some of this happen? I know you said it like got worse the older you got, but
Yeah.
like, do you remember things happening when you were like young or like even high school?
Oh yeah, definitely in high school.
Or was it all after you moved and moved back?
Oh no. It was when I lived there. Most of it was when I lived there. It was horrible. It was a miserable place to live.
Was it like every day something was happening, or like you might go 6 months and then all of a sudden something happened?
Oh, it was never 6 months. It was regularly. It was a constant. It would be something small all the time, but then it would be something really
Just
big
like
every once in a while.
randomly that water bottle falls over, or just some
Yeah.
stupid crap.
Or you'd be watching TV and you'd see, like, in the background, how you can see your back room. There'd just be a shadow that just walked by in the back room, and nobody else is in the house. And the thing that's the weird part is it's happened to multiple people who have been with me
Did did your mom experience some of this?
all the time.
And what did she like? Did she not care?
So
Was
my
she not
mom-
like, we're selling this house?
My mom was curious about it, so she was very open to.
So she got the Ouija board and brought in more spirits or whatever they call it.
It was never a violent, or I can remember being grabbed twice, and other than that, it was just weird. Like, it was almost like, hey, I'm here, don't forget about me. But I can
they,
remember
like,
being grabbed twice.
Did it feel like you were physically grabbed?
I got bruised. So you want to hear that story?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I don't
So
think I've heard this one before.
So I was probably 17, 18. I was in high school, and the girl I was dating at the time was going on a trip, and big family. And in my dream, so I'm obviously asleep. So I'm having a dream to where I'm in a van sitting just like this, looking forward, and I look to the left, and the girl that I'm dating is there. And in the background, I can see like sky ground, like the van or car is rolling, basically. Yeah. And in the dream, she reaches over and grabs my arm. So it would have been your left hand grabbing me. See? Goosebumps, man. So grabs me on the arm. So basically what the dream is like it's the stages of death. So like I see her as a normal person, and as we roll, she basically dies, deteriorates, become like a skeleton almost. And at the end, like, I just freak out. And when I wake up, my arm hurts, and I don't really look at it. And the next morning, I get up to take a shower, and there's a bruise of a handprint on my arm, but the hand is the way that it would be with you grabbing me like this. So I physically
couldn't
have done it. And it's a small hand.
And you were sleeping by yourself.
Oh, yeah.
She wasn't
with
you.
Yeah. She wasn't there. She was actually on vacation.
It was only on the dream.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, physically bruised arm, have a dream that it was right on, it wasn't like I got a scratch on my leg. Right. I mean, being athletic, I was always getting beat up.
But the bruise could have been from like football practice.
It was a hand. It was a handprint. Like, it was fingers.
That's so weird.
And then another time, it actually talked to me one time. So again, most of the things were very just like, something would move, or like you'd hear the door open, or I'd be laying in bed and I'd feel something push the end of the bed. Like somebody's like putting their knee on the bed. So you kind of you don't like it, but you get used to it. Because what are you going to do? I was 16. I can't move out on my own,
Right.
Like, just going to go live in my car. Like, what are you going to do? So I'm in the shower. And we'll set a lot of things happen when I'm in the shower, getting in the shower. So the girl that I'm dating at the time, different girl, we are going to go to the Keys actually. And she's driving over, and we were going to go fish the bridges overnight. She was a fishing person. And so she's like, "Hey, I'll be there in 30 minutes. You know, or just let me." I was like, "All right, I'll leave the front door open." So I'm in the shower, hear the front door open, and I scream out, "Hey, you know, how's it going? Hey, what's up?" And she's like, "Hey, sorry I'm a little early. Got here a little quicker." I was like, "Oh, no big deal. Hey, do you mind running to go grab some ice?" Because I didn't want to stop. She was 30 minutes. I still wasn't ready. She's like, "Yeah, no problem." So she leaves. Hear the door close. I get out of the shower. 10 minutes later or so, she comes back. "Hey, how's it going?" I was like, "Hey, great. Blah, 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 blah." We're getting ready. I was like, "Hey, where's the ice?" Because we're packing cooler. She's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Well, didn't you just go to get ice?" She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Didn't you just go get ice? Like, didn't you just go get ice?" She's like, "No, I just got here." And I was like, "You didn't come here about 10 minutes ago? You didn't walk in the house?" She's like, "No, James, I just got here. I haven't been to the house yet." And I was, and again, I was like, "Are you, seriously?" And she's like, "Listen, I have not been. I told you it was going to be 30 minutes. Kind of looked at my phone. I was like, it's been 30 minutes. So something that was not her opened my door, sounded like her, and it sounded like her, had a conversation with me, and then left.
That is so
those were
weird.
the two. Those were the two biggest. And I mean, I've been locked in rooms with friends of mine. Like we walked into a shed, door slammed shut and locked. I have the key. I mean, I can do this all day long. It's weird, and I'll get feelings every once in a while that are just very, very weird.
Down here,
everywhere. Yeah, yeah. I used to work at a shoe store.
Do you have like somebody in your family that had a weird death, or is there like any
not that I
weird
know of.
past
No.
something?
And so there's gonna be a lot. They're like, "Oh, it's made up," and like how you said, like you might see things, or like now I start to think I see things. I don't want to see it.
Right.
Like I'm not one of those people that's like, "Oh, I love this." I hate it. It terrifies me.
I would freak out, and the reason I don't believe is because I've never experienced anything like that. So like, to me, it makes no sense because it's never happened, and I've never. As far as I know, I think you're the only person that I actually know that's had like that severe of experiences. I mean, I think we've all had certain times where you're like something little happened. You're like, that was weird, but just weird coincidences or whatever, maybe. But
and it's like the house that we have now here. I'm not like, I don't feel anything at all. Like I can be alone in the house. I've never had anything. Like if I hear a noise now, it's just like, oh, the door kind of made a noise. It's
right.
But there's just a feeling when we used to go into my old house where you walked in and it was like, what is going on here? This is not a good situation.
Yeah.
And I think being around it for so long that it kind of just made me see it, I guess, is kind of like how you said, if you're not really looking for it, if I tell you to, track how many things that are white in your store, you're only going to look for white. And then if I ask you, how many red things are there, you're not going to know. And if you're looking for it, that's all you're going to see. And I don't want to see it because it terrifies me.
It would terrify me too. Because again, I hate scary movies. Like I get scared just watching something that isn't even real. Like it's a movie, it's fake, and it still scares me. So I don't like being scared.
For me, it's the fact that I do believe that the more scared you get, the more you're opened up to it. I guess it's almost like a gateway type of thing, to where if you're someone that's not scared about it or not open to it, why would that spirit or whatever you want to call it, I just call it a ghost, why would it go after you? Because you're not going to see it. You're not going to believe it. To where if you're someone like me who's now like, oh, I hate these things. Where if I see like I'm a grown man, Brad. I'm 38 years old. I'm not scared of a thing. You put a scary movie on TV,
same.
Nope, can't do it. And I get that feeling. I'm like, ooh, no.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I don't like it, obviously for a different reason. I just don't like to watch them. You don't want to be brought back to some experiences you've had.
Don't come to my house.
But yeah, even if a commercial comes on for a scary movie, which I don't even really watch regular TV anymore, but before, like if a commercial would come on, I'd just change the channel. I'm like, I'm not watching that commercial.
No, there's no way, man. Yeah, there's been a lot of weird things, but
That's so wild. And your mom, does she still live in that house? She still lives down there. Is it the same house?
no, she sold the house maybe 4 years ago or so,
Yeah.
4 or 5.
Have you had experiences at her house where she is now?
Mm-mm.
It's mostly quit since then.
Yeah, we had a couple weird things
Was
when
it
we
an
lived in
old
Arkansas.
house?
It was built in like the 40s, something along those lines. But yeah, I mean there was. So I mean, here's another great example. There was.
I bet somebody died. I know you
Oh, I'm
mentioned
sure.
like your
Yeah.
birth or something.
Yeah.
But
So she had a friend who I'd never seen before, and so this was when so again when you were talking about being younger, this is another one, and I had no idea what had gone on. So one day I'm coming home from school. I was probably in elementary or probably middle school, and because I had a key and I was allowed to. Well, I mean it was a different time. We were allowed to be home by ourselves when we were younger. And I'm trying to open the door, deadbolt, can't open the door, pushing, can't get in. Lock the door back, unlock it, push the door, finally open it, and there's a woman standing right in the middle of the doorway. And it's not like how you see on where like they're like floating and like hair's blowing. It's a woman.
yeah.
Now, granted, you can tell that she's not real, but you can see the outline of everything. And she just looks at me, smiles, and goes away. Like just instantly vanished. Not like smoke. Like it's not one of those things. It just instantly just goes away. So I'm freaked out. So I don't go inside, wait for my mom. She comes home, tell her about it. She doesn't say anything. She kind of acts a little weird, but doesn't say anything. Later that night, I wake up, and at the foot of my bed, it's the same woman. I literally just wake up in the middle of the night, and there's this woman standing at the foot of my bed, and I scream.
Is she old, young?
Older, but it's not like a demon. Like her eyes aren't glowing. It's just like a lady just standing in front of you. So I scream. My mom comes in. Gone, instantly gone. Tell her what happened. Later that year, we're going to my sister's house. My sister lives in New York, and we go there for Christmas. And we start talking about it, and I tell that story to my sister. And she looks at my mom kind of funny, and she's like, "You didn't tell him?" And I was like, again, like, because I was young. And so the story goes, which believe it or not, there was a lady who used to like babysit my mom or something along the, it's been 20 years. Used to babysit my mom or was friends with somehow like a teacher or something. And she was going to come visit my grandmother, and she wanted to see me, my mom, and my grandmother. She saw me that day. My mom saw the same lady. She knew who it was. The same lady appeared to my mom, and my grandma had a dream about her all on the same day. So she had died, obviously. She had died just a couple days before. And then I saw her actual manifestation. My mom saw her. And in a dream, my grandma saw her.
And so they showed you a picture of this lady?
Yeah, it was her.
And you're like, that's the lady I saw?
And my mom was like, I didn't want to tell you.
I have goosebumps now.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. Like,
That is so weird.
She was like, I didn't want to scare you, because I was probably 12, I was really young. And all three of us saw this same lady who was coming to visit, but died before she could come. So she got to see us all. Freaky, man.
Dude. That's so weird.
Yeah.
I just don't so let's assume that all this is real or whatever. And I'm not saying what your experience is not real.
Yeah.
But let's assume like there's ghosts all over the place or whatever. Like It doesn't make sense to me how you've had so many experiences, but then we can go ask the couple people out here, and like maybe none of us have ever had anything. Like why, if the ghost or the spirit, or especially that lady, if she died and could come see, so like, why does that not happen more often?
I think that there's people who are just drawn to I feel that everything happens for a reason. I think there's people who are drawn to bad situation. Like we all have friends that are like all the time there's something wrong with them. They're always getting into stuff.
Right.
I think that just happened to be my short end of the stick.
James gets the ghost.
I got the poltergeist.
Oh man.
But again, a lot like my
wife
I
didn't get that one.
My wife's seen it. My wife didn't believe in it until she met me and actually physically saw it multiple times. We were living in Arkansas, and we lived on we had a 2-story house, and there was footsteps on the side of our house.
Oh hell no.
Yeah, I mean, went outside with a bang bang stick and walked around because I thought there was something like walking on our house, and there's just, just we would hear things like that. She would see dark apparitions, and it was weird, man. But we don't see them. I mean, it's not like I haven't seen one in years now. So
that kind of stuff
thankfully
scares me. I would, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do, or how I would sleep, or
It's hard.
you just like, because then
There's nothing you can do.
like I even still think like when it's like super quiet, or if like my wife and all my kids, like if I'm at home by myself, like if they're in Nashville or something, and it's just like so quiet,
Yeah.
you like almost think you're gonna hear something,
Yeah.
and then so you start hearing like even like the air kicks on, you're like, what was that? And you're like, oh, it's just AC.
Yeah.
And so like knowing that would happen regularly would just be so freaking scary.
Yeah.
I would just be wanting to like shoot shotguns through the wall, or
Well, in high school, because obviously, at that age, I was able to have people over, and my mom would, go out of town for a little while, and people just come over just to see it. I mean, there's been multiple people. We would the way the house, the living room, hallway, you would hear footsteps walk all the way down the hallway. Lights would turn on, people would look at each other, light would turn off, footsteps would walk all the way back down.
I'd leave.
I mean, there's been multiple times where and most people did. Nobody believed me, but I've been sitting on a couch and seen, just a light walk into one room, walk into the other. Luckily it was never like violent. Like I was scared of it, but I was never like, I never felt like I was ever going to get hurt or anything like that.
Again, I don't like, obviously the movies can make it look like whatever they want to, but I mean, I guess that one gave you bruises, but
yeah, that was a weird
hard.
one.
Like, I would assume, like, I don't think a ghost could kill you. Like,
I mean, nothing I've ever experienced.
But I mean, at the same time, if it can go through and open things, it can pick up a knife and stab you. I guess I don't know, but
yeah, that's a whole different thing. I'm not like I don't think people get like demonically possessed or like that. That's not my like. All I know is that I have seen shampoo bottles sit up in the like I've seen things move across tables. I've never seen somebody like their eyes roll back in their head and them start stabbing people. Like that's not mine.
I think they have to. Well, I mean, if it's been the 40s, it may not be recorded. But I think if you buy a house, like they have to tell you if somebody died in the house or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just think that. I don't know if that's a real thing or not. But
who knows?
It'd be interesting to try to find some. Like, did you ever research that house or like previous owners or?
It's not my. I never really wanted to know anything about it. Like that's my. I never wanted to. It's not my thing. Like
accept even more.
Yeah, like I'm not one of those people that's like, oh man, I want to go somewhere.
Now the whole family's after you.
Like I don't want to. Everyone's like, oh, you should go here and see if you feel something. I'm like, why? I don't want to go get attacked by a ghost.
Yeah.
Like, there's hotels where like, oh yeah, well this person was murdered. I'm like, why would I want to go there?
No.
I'm obviously gonna see it. If someone's gonna see it, it's gonna be me.
Right.
Like I don't want to get attacked. I try to go the other way, but.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure some of y'all listening have probably had some experiences, and
Yeah.
I want to hear them. So comment down below. I know it's a lot to comment your entire experience, but maybe just say yes or no. Like if you've had some issues, and excuse me, maybe we need to get like a priest to come do the.
Too little.
Is it exorcism?
Well, no, I'm not. I'm not possessed by anybody. I need like a cleansing, like a.
Well, don't they like go through and they like
Yeah.
some smoke and say some
Like
words
sage
and
or something. Yeah.
wipe the ghost away? But you don't have.
Yeah,
it
I don't see it anymore. Yeah, that's someone else's problem. If it's at the
I
house,
hope we didn't bring something up. And if you text me tomorrow and go, "I hate you," or everybody listening is now gonna get the same ghost.
Yeah, there was a. Yeah, man. There's been a lot of weird stuff, but
That's crazy. At least it doesn't happen now. Thank you, Gulf Shore.
as of now, as of today, it doesn't happen. But we'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yep.
Well, we try to go about an hour. We're just over an hour, so we'll start wrapping it up. You and Jordan are you definitely gonna start a podcast? You're still just considering it.
No, we're doing it. I wanna. We
Got
got
a name yet?
I need help with a name.
Okay.
So I've thought about
Is it just like is it a fishing podcast or anything in particular or just
so
whatever?
kind of like what you guys do.
Yeah,
I want to be able to have people on, want to be able to talk about fishing, but at the same time,
just like whatever.
man, I don't take fishing seriously. You know,
Bull nuts.
yeah.
And sperm protein.
I don't know if we'll be talking about eating balls. That's not my humor.
With Jordan, you never know what's gonna happen.
Well, but that's the great part about Jordan is me and him both kind of have that like dry sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a lot of making fun of people. You know, like there's a lot of grown men on the internet who don't do some stupid stuff, and I really like making fun
you
of
got to
those.
get Sean because
Oh, yeah.
Sean is a perfect one to
All right.
joke with and have some of that sense of humor.
Yeah, so
Sean's hilarious.
I've thought about Big Fish Energy or something. You know, like it's something fishing related, but he doesn't like that one. The wife likes it, but he doesn't. And I don't want it to be like anything with frisky fins or.
Yeah.
You know, I want it to be something fun and just completely different.
Yeah. Well, if y'all have any ideas, I'm terrible at coming up with random names, but if y'all have any ideas for his podcast, him and Jordan, comment down below. Jordan is G2 Coastal.
Yeah.
Also does some surf fishing charters down here at Gulf Shores, Orange Beach. But let's go wrap it up. If you need any pompano rigs, Frisky Fins Pompano Rigs also makes pompano jigs, sheep's head jigs, custom rods, and you sell ninja daggers and some other stuff on your website. And that's just friskyfins.com.
It is friskyfins.com.
So go check them out. It's the same thing everywhere.
Yep.
Your website, Facebook, Instagram. Appreciate it, man. And make sure you like, subscribe, rate, review, all the things, Apple Podcasts, whatever you got to do. So catch you on the next one.